There's no VAT in America. Whatever. There's like a whole thing. But I've most of all my outboard gear, I think I bought in America and just slowly brought it over with different trips. Maybe I shouldn't say this out loud on my podcast, but I'm sure nobody is listening. It's not that much money, but yeah, seriously. So cool. How did you end up in LA? Like, you said you started in New York. Like, when did LA happen?
For any Italian, or maybe I can even extend it to European, New York City means USA. It's basically the same thing. Though very not true at all. But I guess the proximity geographically, New York is closer to Europe. And even with the Italians, there's a thing with New York City, right? So to me, it has always been New York. That's why I went to New York to begin with. And I never even considered anywhere else to be besides New York. Until a client of mine flew me out from New York to here. And, I get here and it's like hot chicks everywhere, big ass studios not closing. At the time, a lot of big studios were closing in New York. And the weather was just incredible. So, although it was not a, how can I say, like a planned kind of thing, I came out here and I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely it. So eventually, packed everything in my car and I drove across country from New York, and been here since.
Amazing. What are some of the biggest differences you found about working in the USA versus, I guess, Italy?
The easiest way and the most confusing way to explain it to you is probably the best. And that is that everything is the same. And at the same time, everything is completely different. And I say that because coming from Italy, where there's a very tiny market for music, right? And then my experience in America for 15 plus years at this point is that it's the same. So it's what I've experienced in Italy is the same as what's happening here, but it's just, 1000x. So it's a lot bigger. Everything is more. There's more people, there's more clientele, there's more budget, there's more stress, there's more competition, there's more of everything. So it's just basically a bigger scale of whatever was happening in Italy. That being said, obviously the main difference is that the biggest artist in Italy is probably as known or has as big of a reach of a medium-sized independent artist here. Obviously, the numbers, are proportional, right? So if the biggest artist in Italy can be known by, say, half of Italy's population, which is impossible, but say that's what it is, we're talking about 30 million people. If it's the same applied here to America, we're talking about 150 million people. And because we speak English and we export music everywhere, or entertainment everywhere in the world, it's really a lot more than that. So it's just a numbers game, right? Everything is bigger here. But the dynamics of what's happening in the studio and, with the people involved, that is identical. It's all the same. It's just bigger.
Yeah. Do you think it's necessary for someone who's coming up in production or audio to spend some time in a big city or move to a big city at some point?
It's just two different models, right? It's the difference between a McDonald's, which feeds 100 million people every day, versus a 4 stars Michelin restaurant, which feeds 7 people every day. There is no right or wrong. It's just a different format. It's a different business model. If you're in a smaller market, chances are you're probably going to have to do a lot more tasks. It's going to be a lot more, you're probably going to have to be a producer. You're probably going to have to be a recording engineer, a tuning guy. You're going to have to do editing. Maybe you're going to have to do some podcasts. Maybe you're going to have to do some live shows, right?
Yeah.
And that is because if you want to sustain a business in a smaller market, you got to be able to be more flexible and offer more services versus a guy that's in a big city like Los Angeles, New York, Atlanta, whatever. And in those kind of arenas, you can be a lot more focused and and have more of a specific task that you're working. and become known for, right?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I guess that's something that I've known but haven't really put my finger on because, I'm in Jerusalem, which is not a very big. I mean, Israel's like not bad as a music scene overall for a small country, but like Tel Aviv is where it's at, and Jerusalem is much smaller compared to that. So, and I've noticed that I've had that's exactly as you're saying. It's much harder to kind of like niche down. You kind of got to be a little bit of a jack of all trades sometimes, and I never really thought of it in terms of that's the reason why. So super, super interesting.
Yeah, man.
So
yeah.
I guess you've enjoyed niching into mixing.
Yeah, and that has been a trend in my career since the beginning. Being that I started in a small market in a small country, and also in an unknown or even non-existing genre at the time, I had to do everything at that point. Like I was doing from taking care of concerts and shows and DJing all the way down to production and tuning and grooming artists and whatever, right? But I had to do that because I was in a small market, and also because it was the beginning of my career. I was still trying to understand what I was best at out of all of these things. And eventually, yes, I like narrow it down more and more and more and more and more until now, 22 years later, I only mix. That's all I do. I don't even really record that much anymore. I surely do not produce or, tune vocals or whatever the case. And obviously, in any of these tasks, the lines are a little blurred, right? Like sometimes I do the tuning, or I may do a drop on a beat or something if I'm mixing a track that calls for it, right? So could that be called part of production? Yes, absolutely. But it's not like I'm out there trying to be Timbaland. You know what I mean? It's very different.
Right. Even, I'll get mixes where I'll end up having to do like a few Melodyne bits no matter what. You know what I mean?
There you go.
It is what it is.
Yes. Yeah.
Wait, so you chose mixing because you loved it the most? You felt like you were the best at it, or did kind of like the market tell you this is where you need to go?
I feel as though, although this is obviously not the case, but I feel like mixing has been invented for me. And I say that because really, it's it's right at the crossroad between the arts of the vibe of the music, the feeling of the music, and what music makes you feel. And on the other side of the equation, it's very technical, it's very nerdy, it's very numbers based, and I'm exactly that. I'm a nerdy guy, but I love my art. I'm very technical, but I wear fucking bow ties. So it's like it feels like it's perfect for me. That's why I keep saying that.
Yeah. Oh man, I was going to ask you about the bow ties later on in the episode, but now that you've brought it up, you got to tell the people about the bow ties.
Yeah, man. I have a big collection. The ones that I really love, I counted them a couple of weeks back, and I have 250.
Oh my God.
Yes, but those are only the ones that I love. So there's a bunch of them that I don't particularly love, but I still have. And also, this does not count those that you tie like normal, like, vintage ones. I have, a good amount of those. And also, it does not count the powered based ones. Yes, I said that. I have some bow ties that require batteries. For example, the LED ones, those that light up, those that move, those that can be programmed, those that come with a remote control.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a fucking nerd, man. Yeah.
So you got to have you have like a different bow tie every day of the year, pretty much.
I could, and that was actually my intent of doing exactly that. And I think I'm still gonna probably do that. I don't know, but in the new building, I'm actually putting together a bow tie display. So yeah, we might.
Very cool.
That. One bow tie every day.
I love it. Well, it's like super you, and I don't know, everything from what I saw about you on the internet before we jumped on this call was very like, is my personality, like, take it or leave it, and I think that's awesome.
Totally.
Like, doing you.
Totally.
So tell me a bit about how you find work. How do artists find you? How do who approaches you to do mixes?
Half of my business comes from producers. And that's why one of the tags that I often use is the producer's best friend. I truly am the producer's best friend. And half of the work comes from them. The other half, I would say, is split between artists and producers, and then anything else, A&R, money people, managers. That depends, So I cater mainly to that kind of audience, And I have been running my business in a very passive kind of way. I do not seek work. I don't reach out. All I do is I've been posting. And now, of course, with the new construction and the new vlog that we're going to talk about, of course, I'm being a lot more active in a sense that I need to let the world know, this crazy project that I'm doing. But generally speaking, I'm very passive. So what happens is somebody usually reaches out to me on my website form, the contact email, whatever, and they go like, "Hey, I got a record to mix," and there's basically two filters that are going to be put in place here. The first one is the music. I only work on music I like nowadays. That has also been very different over the decades, but nowadays I'm very selective. So the first filter is that I want to hear the music. I want to understand if I am the person for the job, and if I'm qualified for it, and also if the music resonates with my taste, and therefore if I'm the right guy for the job. Mm-hmm. And I say that because I'm about to put 10 hours or more into one piece that's 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
So you know how many times I'm going to listen to this freaking thing, right? So I want to make sure that my heart is in it, and not only that, but also my name. It's important for me to be associated with music that I can vouch for, and I can say, yeah, this is my stuff. So that's the first filter. The second filter is money and budgets and stuff like that, depending on who is the potential client. I may be affordable or not. I'm definitely not the most expensive guy around, but I'm also not the cheapest guy around. So that's the second point of conversation. And then after that, it's it's usually smooth sailing with getting this thing platinumized.
Yeah. Do you have a manager, or you do that all yourself?
So I have a manager. His name is IRKO. He wears bow ties. No. There's no manager. Basically, the team has been me only throughout these all these decades. However, that's also something else that I want to change. That's one of the goals for the next 5 years, is that I feel like I've reached like a ceiling above which I cannot grow unless I put in place a team. So the first piece of the puzzle for the team is actually already in place. His name is Steph. He's going to be my recording engineer. And that's part of the plan of development for the studio and everything else. So he's basically going to work for anyone that I'm working with, and also other clients. And he's going to become the guy that handles all the recording sessions at Studio Beat 3 and other places, of course.
Yeah. So I take it you've been renting a place until now, and this studio is going to be like a personal studio that will also have clients coming in with engineers, and it'll just be like a fully fledged like facility.
Correct. Yes, I've been freelancing in America since I came here, so it's been more than 15 years that I've been jumping from studio to studio, which is incredible. I get to use multi-million-dollar studios. However, the downside of that is, number one, cost, which inevitably must be passed on to the client, and also that just the place is not mine, so I cannot do things that I would like to do. For example, workshops, for example, events, for example, music video releases parties, or online programs, courses, classes, subscription style things. All of those things I was very limited in doing. And so although it's a beautiful thing to be in $1 million studios every day to do sessions, ultimately I got to leave out that studio after my 8 hours, and I'm back to not having my own shop, So yes, the new studio will be a studio that people can use. I will use it. Steph is going to use it. You can use it. Next time you come to LA, have a place to stay.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. And not only that, but the building is mixed use building. So there's a residential part with 2 apartments and a guest room. And there's the 2 studios. So yeah, I'm trying to fulfill the need that young IRKO coming to LA was trying to fulfill.
Yeah.
With a place to stay, a place to work, and potentially not driving around, since LA traffic sucks.
Yeah, I know that. Also sucks here, by the way. So you're renting? Are you renting out the same facility every time you do a mix, like with the same monitors? Like you have like a room that you're working with that you know, or do you have, or you actually have to rent out, or you have until now, obviously having to rent out different rooms and different studios and having